What is good, and welcome to episode 396 of Defenders of the Bank, the most LAFC podcast on the planet. That's right. Good evening to the millions, and hopefully all of you out there are going, and millions, because this is just a solo scarf endeavor. I'm actually trying to figure out how I'm not taking up the entire screen, but let's see if I can figure that out at some point. Let's see. There I'm just a circular head. I don't know if I want to be just a circular head. There's a square one. Okay. All right. Enough playing with the toys. You know my voice. It's the scarf, J.R. Liebert, and welcome back to Defenders of the Bank. Of course, we do this after every single match, and there was yet another CONCACAF Champions Cup match played, this time at BMO Stadium, our second home win in our second home venue in our second try of doing so here in 2026. And in fact, LAFC improves to 3 wins to start the season. Only the second time in club history, 2023, in a year that we also played Alajuelense, in a year that we also played in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So lots of similarities between 2023 and this season. Let's hope 2026 ends better than 2023 did. Hello to everybody in the chat. And again, welcome to episode 396. We are just 4 episodes away. Philly is unfortunately a little under the weather on this one, so it's a solo scarf endeavor. LAFC, of course, booking a date to play Alajuelense in Costa Rica, as they were our predetermined second round matchup in the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup. Our last match played in front of 76,000 at the Coliseum. Tuesday's second leg versus Real España, about 66,000 fewer in the building. But you would never know it from the 3252. As always, the 3252 were packed in the North End and gave their full-throated support, as they always do. And a quick shout out, let's give some props to the traveling Real España supporters who did a wonderful job supporting their club. I was actually able to go over there at halftime, and I traded an LAFC scarf for a Real España scarf, which is amazing. So that was kind of fun to be able to do another trade like that. I traded down in León, I traded in Alajuelense, and now I was able to trade here in our match against Real España. So that was fun. The quality of the Real España scarf, it was a little thinner than the scarf that I traded them, but I didn't care. It was all good. I was very, very happy to make the trade and add a Real España scarf in my collection for sure. LAFC, of course, booking their ticket to Costa Rica, taking out Real España 1-0, which means we took the 2 legs on aggregate 7-1. So a very dominant effort. I'm trying to follow along. By the way, I'm recording this on Wednesday, February 25th. It is currently 10:13, and I am trying to follow along with this Galaxy game. It is still... They're having their hands full with Sporting San Miguelito. Unfortunately, they would still advance. It is 0-0 in the 80th, in the Philly minute right now, in the 80th minute. But they are, of course, advancing as things currently stand. 1-1 is the aggregate, but because they scored 1 away goals being the tiebreaker, if this 0-0 result holds, then unfortunately Galaxy would move on to play Mount Pleasant Football Academy. I believe that's a Jamaican side. So they got kind of a second cupcake opponent in a row, while Alajuelense, very, very good. In fact, I believe they're the only team outside of the United States and Mexico inside the top 40 of the CONCACAF rankings. They are a very solid team, and we do obviously have experience in playing Alajuelense, as we played there in 2023, and of course played them at home as well. The dates have been set for those matches. More on that in just a little bit. Look, Coach Justin Campos, Real España's head man, admitted that the round was likely already decided after just 25 minutes in the first match. So this one, for Real España, it was all about pride and all about roster rotation. For LAFC, we wanted to get everybody out of there healthy, considering we already knew we were going to move on most likely to play Costa Rican side Alajuelense. We also have to get everybody and keep everybody healthy for our Saturday away match at the Houston Dynamo. It'll be a Matty Bogusz reunion there in Houston. More on that a little bit later. And yes, we are, for at least tonight, all sporting San Miguelito fans. In this match against Real España, we would see player debuts. We would see combinations of 11 that we might not see again for quite some time in 2026, if ever. And most importantly, we would see everybody coming off the pitch healthy in this one. So before we break down all the happenings at BMO Stadium as Real España came to Los Angeles to take on LAFC, let's get into our this day in LAFC history and news and notes. We are recording this episode on the 25th of February, so let's take a look at what's happened on the 25th of February. A couple of big birthdays, the first of which, Kimberly Caldwell Harvey, the wife of Jordan Harvey and our official Canadian national anthem singer of LAFC. Jordan Harvey still very involved in the front office operations of LAFC too, and it's always been a pleasure for us to listen to Kimberly Caldwell Harvey sing "Oh Canada." It's also, by the way, the birthday of one Mario Gonzalez, the water pistol. That's right, 12 matches, just 1 goal and 2 assists in 534 minutes in 2023. It did not work out for Mario Gonzalez. He is currently playing in the Spanish second division, if you're looking to follow Mario Gonzalez's career. So happy birthday to both Kimberly Caldwell Harvey and Mario Gonzalez. Also on this date, February 25th, 2018, LAFC technically earned their first ever win in club history, although this one in the preseason. In the 4th preseason match in team history, LAFC defeats USL side and side that was supposed to come up and be a Major League Soccer team at some point, Sacramento Republic FC. It's also our first road match that we really ever played. Technically, we played it at Papa Murphy's Park in Sacramento. The 1-0 win, courtesy of Joao Moutinho, who scored the game-winning goal at the 1 hour mark in the 60th minute down there at Papa Murphy's Park, all the way back to our first preseason. So that is this day in LAFC history. News and notes, I don't know, nothing too major other than Denny Bouanga signing an extension with LAFC. The extension will keep him in black and gold until the end of the 2027-28 season. He does have an extension available for the 2029-2030 season. So it's a bit weird how the calendar gets all sorted. There's going to be like that weird half season, and then they're going to play full seasons, but they overlap in 2 different years. So it's not going to be like it used to be where you can talk about the 2026 season like we're talking about it now because the whole thing happens in 2026. No. There'll be these overlapping, just like, by the way, the rest of the world and leagues that get taken seriously do. So very excited on that one for sure. But Denny Bouanga signing an extension with LAFC. And like we talked about, cue John Malkovich, they paid the man his money. I am so happy for Denny Bouanga, but more importantly, I'm happy for me and you and all the rest of the black and gold faithful, the millions and millions of black and gold supporters out there, because we get to watch the best to ever do it in black and gold. Absolutely incredible. Ben, we do have to bring back the wait, what moments. We haven't done that in quite a while. It was a lot easier to do when Philly and I were sitting next to each other because the timing of the internet and then the whole thing. But either way, you're absolutely right. We got to bring back the wait, what moments. But trying to explain that calendar, don't worry, we'll do a whole breakdown on that later on in the season. Look, I know the numbers aren't necessary for Denny Bouanga, but let's go over them just in case. Anyway, 105 goals in his 3 full seasons and a handful of other games as well. The first MLS player to have 3 consecutive 20-goal seasons. He has been an absolute revelation. And I've talked about this several times recently, but it's worth mentioning again. Denis Bouanga, while he was star caliber before he came to LAFC, playing in the French First Division, Liga 1, while he was star caliber, it was because of his move to LAFC and his performance here that he has become a true globally recognized star while with LAFC. That's the most important thing to realize. It doesn't happen very often in Major League Soccer. It's such a rarity that somebody comes to LAFC and becomes a star. Look, most MLS stars fit into one of 2 bills, right? You get the young players who get sold off and become stars. The biggest example of which is Alphonso Davies. Alphonso Davies has become a megastar, doing incredible things for Bayern Munich. Also, Tyler Adams, maybe even Ricardo Pepi fits into that bill. These are players who left Major League Soccer at a young age and became stars in Europe and abroad. The other version of star in Major League Soccer usually becomes a player who wanted one more run in the sun, right? Think Thierry Henry, Andrea Pirlo, David Villa, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, and heck, a trio of LAFC players in our history, right? Gareth Bale, one more walk in the sun. Olivier Giroud, one more offside in the sun. And Giorgio Chiellini. Oh, I miss Giorgio on the pitch so much, but I'm so glad he's still with LAFC. They were already stars and came to LAFC fully formed. Those other guys came to Major League Soccer fully formed, their careers already being etched in stone. Think also players like Kaká. That's another one that I was thinking about earlier when we were going through this list. I mean, huge names. But Denis Bouanga is the rarity. How many players have legitimately come to this league relatively unknown? Yes, tons of potential. He played very, very well against some of the biggest teams that he ever played against, but he was relatively unknown. That being said, he made himself a star because of his performance in Major League Soccer. People began to take notice of his exploits around the world because on all of those most goals scored in a calendar year lists for the last 3 years, Denis Bouanga has been on them and near the top. We're talking with all of the other greats throughout world football. And yes, I know it's way harder to score that many goals in the Prem or in any of the big 5 leagues. But Denis Bouanga has done it time and time again for LAFC, and he has now made himself a name. He has made himself teams like Fluminense, right? Fluminense comes after him and wants to make their club better. Inter Miami, who obviously is a global juggernaut as well right now because of the GDP that is Lionel Messi on that club. It's incredible that Denis has gotten the overtures that he has. Look, the only other player I'm kind of thinking of in that way was Josef Martinez. Josef Martinez had an incredible first 3 seasons in Major League Soccer, 2017 to 2019, put himself on all kinds of goal lists and everything else. But that was back in 2019, and I don't know that anybody was really gunning for his services quite as much. Maybe Atlanta United hung on to him for a little bit too long. We've seen him become kind of a hired gun playing with Montreal and San Jose and Inter Miami, and now he just signed, I believe, with Xolos in Liga MX. So he's kind of become a hired gun since then, unfortunately. But Denis Bouanga has become an absolute star while playing in this league. He's going to put a lot of these team records pretty far out of reach, and we will see where he winds up in the all-time MLS record book. The only other bit of news and note to talk about in this one is that LAFC announces their theme nights. That's right, LAFC has announced There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different theme nights for our what will be 17 home matches, just 16 home matches remaining now since we played Inter Miami as part of our regular season schedule at the Coliseum. And the first one is coming up in about a month and a half, about 2 months or so. April 19th versus San Jose will be Kids Day at BMO Stadium. On May 10th, it's not just a Matty Bogusz homecoming party as we play Houston. It's the AAPI celebration, Asian American Pacific Islander Night at BMO. On May 24th against Seattle Sounders, it is Pride Night with some fireworks. The big one that everybody will likely circle is July 22nd versus Real Salt Lake. That is bobblehead night. July 22nd versus RSL is bobblehead night. And it's gotta be, right? It's gotta be a sunny bobblehead, right? Like, what else could it possibly be if it's not going to be a Son Heung-min bobblehead? That is going to be interesting for sure to see what that crowd is like. On October 10th versus Vancouver, it's Noche LAFC. 4 days later versus Austin, Texas. That would be Philly's favorite night. October 14th is Hello Kitty night, a night that I have come to dread season after season. And on November 1st versus Minnesota United, James Rodriguez will come for Fan Appreciation Night. So Fan Appreciation Night, we could get a Danny Crisostomo bobblehead, although I don't think we will. But it's got to be sunny, right? Austin, I was way off. So those are our theme nights. Other than bobblehead night, let me know in the chat which ones you guys are most looking forward to. They always do a really cool scarf for AAPI night, for the Asian American Pacific Islander night. They obviously do another cool scarf for Pride night. Hello Kitty, can we get a scarf? Can we get a Hello Kitty scarf? I'll buy that one. I'll put it up behind me. Can we get a Hello Kitty scarf for Hello Kitty night? That would be pretty cool. All right, let's talk about the match against Real España. Leg 2 of round 1 of the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup, played Tuesday, February 24th at BMO Stadium. And if we're talking about player availability, unfortunately out for this one, as we know, Aaron Long, Igor Jesus, and Jacob Schaffelberg. Lorenzo Della Valle still on the injury list for this match with a leg issue. Jeremy Ebobisse also injured in this one with a leg issue. But we did have, after the match, a Jeremy Ebobisse sighting after the game. He was wearing a brown sweatsuit with shades after the match, walking around with players. The players were all clapping and giving it up for the fan support. But he was not. He was just walking around with his fellow players. Gerardo Rios 3252 asks, what's up with Lorenzo? I can actually click that, and just now you can see it down there on the chat. Duh. He asks, what's up with Lorenzo? The simple thing is, after Coachella, he wound up on the injury report with a leg issue. We hope it's just maybe a little bit of residual soreness from his healing process, maybe, that's still going on. I don't know. He looked pretty good out there at Coachella Valley, but he's been hurt ever since. That was his story in 2025, right? Hurt ever since. By the way, the match is over. Mateus Nascimento getting a red card in the 93rd minute, but the Galaxy back their way into a second round matchup with Mount Pleasant Football Academy. They drew on the road 1-1 to Sporting San Miguelito, and they drew at home in Carson 0-0, going down a man in the 3rd minute of stoppage time in the second half. Not a very convincing start to the Galaxy's season. Carson now 0-3 to begin the season. They began the first 16 matches last season without a win. Now they're already 3 matches in without a win, but it's okay. They signed Greg Vanney to that extension right in the middle of that big winless streak. So, way to go. All right, excellent. But Galaxy moves on because they scored an away goal against Sporting San Miguelito, and Sporting San Miguelito did not score an away goal away goals are a tiebreaker. It's the first tiebreaker. And so because it was 1-1 on aggregate, Galaxy have the away goal. Galaxy move forward. So, look, all due respect to Coach Justin Campos, but I really think he got his club to play with pride in this one. In the press conference after, I asked him kind of point blank, looking back at the two legs of his team's performance, like what is there to take away? What did he think? And one of the things that he said was, not just in Major League Soccer, but at LAFC, we just play a whole different brand of football. Gerardo, that's funny. I got to put that up. We just play a whole different brand of football. He said something to the tune of, it's not even the same game that we play here in Major League Soccer or here at LAFC. He was very deferential to the skill of our squad, but he also did point out that, look, the first 25 minutes, he said, I believe his quote was, it didn't even seem real, the first 25 minutes. And if you look, for the last 65 minutes of the match in Honduras and for the 90-plus minutes of this one, his side fought, man. His side fought bravely. They definitely didn't have the weapons. They didn't have the talent. But you know what? None of that matters in football. Amazing things can happen. I mean, look at, oh God, what's that team? Somebody just mentioned it in the chat right now. Bodo Glimt, right? Bodo Glimt in the Champions League right now. It is an absolutely unbelievable story that Bodo Glimt is crafting for themselves in this Champions League. Look at other clubs that have done some incredible things in seasons past. It's really interesting to see that how clubs can rise to the occasion. And I really do think if you take away the first 25 minutes where LAFC absolutely dominated every facet of the match, going up like 4-0 in those first 25, 30 minutes. After that, it was a very spirited, solid effort by his boys at Real España. It was great to see. And look, I've said it again, and maybe I'll get heat for this, but I really don't care. I was actually happy they scored in front of their home crowd. The atmosphere was electric. It got very loud there for a little bit. And look, they scored after it was 5-0. So it's not like anything was ever in doubt. And I was happy that the home side was able to get something to cheer about like that in front of their own people. So that was pretty cool that they were able to do that. Let's talk about the starting lineup for LAFC in this leg of the first round. And it was exactly what we thought. Philly correctly predicted very early on that goalkeeper Thomas Hasal would be starting this one. In fact, Hugo Lloris, not even in the 18. Cabral Carter was the second keeper listed in the lineup. And look, it was a very heavily rotated roster. It was a 3-4-3 to start with. And that would be Ryan Hollingshead and Kosi Tafari and Kenny Nielsen. Kenny Nielsen, who looked very good in limited minutes, the former Georgetown product, looked very good last year for LAFC in limited minutes. Isis, what's happening? I saw you on the capo stand there during the match. They put you up on the Jumbotron. Thank you for coming in the chat here, Isis. You know we love you. In the midfield, Ryan Raposo, who I thought looked very, very good in his time out there. I thought it was a good match for Ryan Raposo. My new favorite addition to this club, Stefan Eustachio, looks, just incredible. I love watching Eustachio play. And in fact, I think Mark Dos Santos told you exactly how important Eustachio is with his halftime substitutions, which we'll get to at halftime when we break this down. Matty Chouanier in the midfield for LAFC, and our fourth midfielder, starting number 65, Amin Boudry. And Amin Boudry looked electric in this one. I thought there were a couple of times where maybe he was a little sluggish, maybe he was a little tentative, and then bam, he would just play like he was shot out of a cannon, still kind of working his way into the mix, although a beautiful feed to Tyler Boyd. But absolutely loved, and loved, what I saw from the 21-year-old Swedish kid. He is an under-22 signing for us. This is and was his LAFC debut, telling us that, Eustachio has an interview that just dropped with Max Bretos on LAFC's YouTube channel, so make sure you guys check that out. We do love ourselves some Max Bretos here on Defenders of the Bank. And the three forwards that started this one, I was shocked, absolutely shocked, that both Denis and Sonny started and played the first 45 minutes. I thought we might see 30 minutes out of them, but I guess according to Marc Dos Santos in the press conference, it was already predetermined that the two of them would start and play the first 45, and they did so alongside Tyler Boyd, who, again, I like Tyler. I think Tyler played pretty well in this one. Got to finish a chance or two because there aren't going to be that many for you, Tyler. But that being said, a good stint for Tyler Boyd out there. And in the 18, the five players that we would see coming on at halftime would be Nathan Ordaz, Timothy Tillman, and the 17-year-old Jude Terry. This kid looked good. He was also very well spoken in his interview afterwards. Jude Terry, look, Aaron Long thinks he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. It is going to be one heck of a career for the 17-year-old U.S. Youth National Team. More on him in a little bit. Jude Terry, David Martinez, and Artem Smolyakov would play as well. So those are the five that would come off the bench. And look, LAFC was trying to figure out the rhythm of the offense through the first 15 minutes. They were called for multiple offsides. Sonny looked like he was trying to do his best Olivier Giroud impression with some of those offside calls for sure. It took until like the 27th minute where Tyler Boyd got a first real attempt for LAFC. Ryan Raposo also forced a save in the 40th minute, but largely that first half was all about kicking the can down the road. Looked like they just wanted to get into the locker room, get all the starting boys healthy and into the locker room so that after halftime we could see a couple of subs, and we would. At the halftime whistle, Son Heung-min, Denis Bouanga, and Stefan Eustachio would all come off. So that tells you how important Marc Dos Santos believes Eustachio is. Nathan Ordaz, Timothy Tillman, and Jude Terry would come on. And again, for Jude Terry, the 17-year-old, it's his first team minutes of what is expected to be a very, very bright career. I talked about him, I should say, a ton while he was with LAFC 2. He looked special when he was there. Since joining the first team in the offseason, I've talked a ton about him. He has been a star with the under-17 U.S. Youth National Team. Like I said, Aaron Long was very high on him with some preseason media hits. And the other thing to talk about is he also changed his number in the offseason from 56 to 22, signaling that like he's moving into those first team, or at least, 18, getting in the 18 kind of roles with number 22. That's someone who's trying to show that they've been there before or are deserving the chance to get in there. So thought it was really cool that he changed his number from 56 to 22, some raised expectations for the teenager. And he was super nice to chat with after the match too. I asked him what his expectations of himself were going into, and now where he's kind of carved out a niche for himself this season. And, basically he gave a good answer. Just want to get better, got to help the team, all the coach speak stuff. But you could tell that 17-year-old kid was super proud to be out there amongst the black and gold. He could also be a big Taylor Swift fan. You're absolutely right. Who knows? Number 22, right? In the second half, LAFC would finally break through just after the hour mark. Timothy Tillman gets his shot saved and kind of pinballs around a little bit. And the rebound comes off to the foot of Nkosi Tafari. And Nkosi Tafari, have yourself a start to the season, my friend. He was by far the player who I was most hot and cold with in 2025. And he has come out in 2026 a force to be reckoned with. Not because he scores goals, by the way, but because his defensive acumen has been so great, no matter who he has played with, next to Ryan Porteous or next to Ryan Hollingshead, maybe even next to Ryan Reynolds for all we know. I don't know, but he has been an incredible defender for us in 2026 too. Man of the match honors so far in our first three matches. It is his first goal with LAFC in 37 matches, played over 2,500 minutes on the pitch. It's his first goal, which is pretty cool. Played in 121 matches with FC Dallas before coming here to LAFC, and he notched 7 goals and 4 assists in those 121 matches. So kudos to Nkosi Tafari. It kind of caps a dream start to him over these first 3 matches. And, you know, Marc Dos Santos was asked about Nkosi Tafari in this one. And he basically said, look, he wasn't in the first team during some of preseason, and his mentality was that of a first teamer, and he kind of bullied his way and earned his way into those first team minutes. And he's obviously shown that he has been an incredible addition to the starting lineup. Obviously, who knows what's going to happen when Aaron Long comes back and is healthy, but Ryan Porteous has been great. Eddie Segura has played great, but I think the real revelation this season has been the emergence, at least so far, of one Nkosi Tafari. In the 69th giggity minute, we have an LAFC substitution with David Martinez coming on for Tyler Boyd. I thought it was a good shift for Tyler Boyd. A little surprised that it was David coming on. I thought we might see somebody else play striker, but David comes on, and in the 80th minute, this would be a Philly minute substitution. Artem Smolyakov comes on for Ryan Raposo, and I thought it was a great night for Ryan Raposo. And if we're being honest, the only other little bit of drama would LAFC see out the clean sheet? When I talked about it on One More Sleep, the one, by the way, that producer Panda joined us on, which was kind of fun. When I talked about this on One More Sleep, I predicted a 3-0 scoreline. I thought LAFC would do a little bit more in the first half. They didn't, so I was a little bullish on the 3. But what I said was Marc Dos Santos and the 11 on the pitch, whomever they might be, would be more prideful and concerned about the 0 of my 3-0 scoreline than about the 3. The goals don't matter as much as playing solid, good team defense. Well, look, the only reason why Real España was able to score in the first leg was because of an unnecessary, silly foul by Ryan Porteous that set up João Benavides on a free kick, and he found the head of 6'2" unmarked Jacques Jean-Baptiste, JJ Frankie JJ, as we like to call him on here. He didn't even need to jump. It was actually a flat-footed header goal by the 6'2" midfielder. Not sure how you miss that when you're marking your men in the box, but they did in the first round or first leg of this first round matchup. In the second leg, it would be another silly foul. This one, Kenny Nielsen getting bailed out a little bit. Nixon Cruz, the 19-year-old Honduran who has played very well with Real España, really looks like he might be an up-and-comer for the Honduran national team as well. Nixon Cruz drawing a foul in the box from Kenny Nielsen. Penalty is signaled. And in the 90th minute, look, go all the way back and take a look at the highlight reel of Thomas Hasal. I don't want to try to make him Tomas Romero. Thomas Hasal. Take a look at his highlight reel from the COVID Cup tournament, the MLS is Back tournament. He looked very, very good in that one. I believe he was like a teenager, maybe 19, maybe 20 years old. I have to go back and look. But Thomas Hasal made his way in Major League Soccer being good at saving penalties. And so in the 90th minute, it was just such a great save. I mean, look, I didn't want them to score. I wanted the clean sheet. So I was a little bummed when we gave up the penalty that late, knowing that it'd be like the last meaningful action likely of the match. But Thomas Hasal, stop making him Thomas Romero. Thomas Hasal said, no, thank you, in front of the Real España supporters, who again were full-throated, were loud, were fantastic in this one. But against the backdrop of the Real España supporters, he dives to his left, stones João Benavides, stones him, and that's it. That's it. That's the last main touch of the match that had any consequence whatsoever. Lots of good takeaways in this one. The defense was absolutely stifling. I thought the offense still looked creative, especially in the second half with a heavily rotated roster. I thought some of these guys might also just be tired. They're about to play their fourth match in 11 days and taking on Houston, which means their first three matches came in a very short span, and with the flight to Honduras in the middle, at the start of it, a very emotional match against Inter Miami in the Coliseum in front of almost 76,000. So a lot to take away from this that was good. I thought Amin Boudry looked fantastic. I really liked Jude Terry. And again, we've talked about Nkosi Tafari being an absolute revelation over the first three matches of the year. Look, next Saturday, it's a good old-fashioned MLS regular season match, February 28th in Houston, 5:30 p.m. It'll be 4 matches in 10 days for LAFC, a reunion with Matty Bogusz, who played the full 90 in their opening match, a 2-1 win over Chicago. And look, anytime LAFC takes its show on the road, it's Denis, it's Sonny, it's Ugo, it's all the talent that we have. We are going to get every single team's best effort. Interesting. I thought this too, by the way, that it was weird that they didn't play either team's national anthem before the match on that one. I don't know. That was an interesting one for sure. But that being said, LAFC improves to 3 wins to start the season. Like I said, only the second time we've done it in club history. In 2023, we played for a lot of trophies in 2023. We got to take some more of those home. LAFC will look to maintain their stranglehold after 2 matches in the Supporters Shield race against Houston. It's going to be a lot of fun. Either way, we're on to Costa Rica, to Alajuelense, who we played in 2023 in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. We beat them on aggregate, although it wasn't very easy. This is a quality side. And we are going to do a whole deep dive once again on Alajuelense. The 2 matches, March 10th at BMO Stadium. The first match is at BMO. Again, March 10th at BMO Stadium against Alajuelense, and March 17th, let's celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Costa Rica, taking on Alajuelense away. That should be a very fun away days for any of you that are going to go. I went last time we played down in Costa Rica. It was an incredible experience. Costa Rica is absolutely beautiful. I thought it'd be a good idea if we stayed in the middle, in the rainforesty part, and then just drove to the match, because it was only like 40 miles or so away. Boy, was that a silly decision, because driving back on some of those roads at like 1 a.m. after the match was hair-raising at least. I mean, I drove through what I thought was a chicken coop and a backyard and somebody's field at one point. I wasn't exactly sure that we were going the right way, and I thought for sure this is how someone gets taken. But that being said, we eventually got back and had a wonderful time. Costa Rica is absolutely beautiful. Give yourself some time there. As they say, pura vida for sure. It is beautiful in Costa Rica. So, yeah, concerned. A little bit. So that being said, you guys, it's been a solo scarf endeavor, and you don't want to hear me talk for like an hour plus. So I'm going to go ahead and just say that's about it for episode 396. Hopefully Philly will be feeling better. We'll do our one more sleep on Friday before the match in Houston, and then a match recap on Sunday. And then we've got about a week off until our next match. So for all of you in the chat, love you guys so much. Thank you. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, head on over to defendersofthebank.com, although I think there's an issue with our website right now, according to our buddy Bruce. We'll have to see what's going on there. But either way, you guys, however it is that you consume Defenders of the Bank content, thank you so much on behalf of the entire Defenders family. You know how we like to end each and every one of these things. Bye-bye.